In thousands of American neighborhoods, there is a written rule that bans the most effective cooling surface in human history. That surface costs $7. It has been in continuous documented use for 3,500 years. It requires no electricity, no contractor, no permit, and no maintenance contract. And right now, in the neighborhoods where that rule exists, every house underneath that rule is running an air conditioner that costs $150 a month to operate, fighting a problem the $7 surface would have solved before it started. The thing keeping your house hot was never an accident. Its name is hydrated lime. Applied with water to a roof surface, it becomes lime wash. It appears in the archaeological record of Minoan Crete at 1500 BCE, the oldest continuously documented building coating on Earth. The island of Thera, Aegean Sea, approximately 1600 BCE. A woman moves along the exterior wall of a low stone house in the early morning before the heat arrives. She carries a clay vessel. The mixture inside is thin, white, slightly alkaline. It smells faintly mineral, the way wet limestone smells after rain. She works from the top down with a wide brush made of bundled fiber, applying the coating in long, even strokes. The wall drinks the first layer quickly. She will return for a second coat before midday. This is not decoration. The island sits in the middle of the Aegean at latitude 36 degrees north. In July and August, the sun drives surface temperatures above what exposed stone can safely absorb. The interior of an uncoated house in those conditions is not uncomfortable. It is dangerous for the elderly woman in the back room, for the infant who cannot regulate heat, for anyone already weakened by illness or labor. The white surface is not a luxury. It is the difference between a house that shelters and a house that cooks. She learned this from her mother. Her mother learned it from hers. It was never written down because it did not need to be. The evidence was on every wall of every house on the island. The knowledge was as obvious as the sun it was built to answer. She does not know the words albedo or infrared radiation. She knows that when she finishes, the interior of that house will stay bearable through the hottest weeks of summer. She knows that the coating breathes, that it does not trap moisture, that it does not crack the way mud does, that it bonds with the stone over time until it becomes indistinguishable from the wall itself. She knows it works. That is all knowledge ever needed to survive. The Minoans were not alone. In ancient Egypt, lime wash covered the exterior walls of domestic buildings and temples alike. The application served two documented purposes: thermal regulation in a climate where summer temperatures regularly exceeded 40 degrees Celsius, and ritual purification. The compound did not distinguish between them. It performed both simultaneously. By the height of the Persian Empire, builders had developed the malkoff, a wind-catching tower designed to funnel prevailing breezes down into the interior of a structure. Combined with white-coated roofs that reflected solar radiation rather than absorbing it, these passive systems created interior environments cool enough to preserve food, protect the ill, and sustain productivity through summer months that would otherwise have shut down commerce and agriculture entirely. When Napoleon's scientific expedition arrived in Cairo in 1798, his artists documented these structures in precise architectural illustration. Nearly every building in the city had one. In medieval Europe, the mechanism was understood through a different lens. After the Great Fire of London in 1212, King John issued a royal order requiring every house along the Thames to be whitewashed within 8 days. The stated purpose was fire resistance. Lime is a natural retardant. The thermal benefit came without being named. In the Amazonian Southwest, the women of Pueblo communities applied fresh adobe in clay to rooftop surfaces each spring as a matter of domestic maintenance. The seasonal reapplication was not a burden. It was a rhythm, the same rhythm that kept interior temperatures survivable through summers that regularly exceeded 100 degrees Fahrenheit in the open air. Every one of these traditions on 4 continents across 32 centuries arrived at the same compound through observation, through generations of paying attention to what worked. Before the Second World War, American vernacular buildings still included light-colored and metal roofing as standard practice in hot climates. The dark asphalt shingle was not yet the default. What changed was scale. Between 1945 and 1970, the asphalt shingle industry industrialized. Production costs collapsed. Dark shingles became cheap, fast, and universal. In the same 2 decades, the HVAC industry expanded to meet the heat those roofs were generating. 2 industries grew in tandem. Each one's product created demand for the others. In 1973, researchers at Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory documented the cost of that arrangement precisely. A lime-coated roof ran 40 degrees Fahrenheit cooler at the surface than a dark one. The interior beneath it dropped 8 degrees. No electricity, no moving parts. The finding did not change construction practice. By the 1970s and 1980s, the Department of Energy was testing radiant barrier foil, a reflective material stapled to the underside of roof rafters that intercepted infrared radiation before it could heat the attic. Test homes showed attic temperatures dropping 30 degrees. Air conditioner runtime fell between 40 and 70%. In 1991, radiant barrier technology was removed from the major residential construction reference manuals in the United States. It was not banned. No study disproved it. No regulatory body issued a finding against it. It was omitted from the next edition. Contractors trained after 1991 never learned to specify it. An entire generation of builders entered the trade without knowing the technology existed. The HVAC industry continued selling larger and more expensive units to fight heat that a $54 roll of foil would have stopped at the rafter. The Asphalt Roofing Manufacturers Association, ARMA, whose members produce the dark shingles on most American roofs, has lobbied against reflective roofing requirements in state after state. The record is public. In Baltimore, in 2022, ARMA argued that dark roofs were the more efficient choice for northern climates. Multiple independent studies demonstrated that claim was false. Baltimore passed its Cool Roof Ordinance in 2023. In Tennessee, in March 2025, a lobbyist connected to the roofing industry persuaded State Representative Rusty Grills to strip the reflective roofing requirement from a commercial building energy code. The vote passed. The industry that manufactures EPDM, the black rubber membrane standard on commercial flat roofs, funded research declaring the benefits of reflective roofing inconclusive. It circulated the claim that white roofs cause condensation and mold growth. Target tested reflective white coatings across more than 20 dozen stores in varied climates. The mold problem did not materialize. It was a talking point manufactured to produce doubt, not a fact supported by evidence. A study published in Nature Cities in 2024 calculated that reflective roofs could have saved more than 240 people who died during London's 2018 heat wave. The global HVAC market generates $130 billion every year. Hydrated lime is an unpatentable natural mineral commodity. A 50-pound bag costs $7. That is the arithmetic of the decision. Lime wash is not paint. As it cures, it undergoes atmospheric carbonation, bonding with carbon dioxide in the surrounding air to form calcium carbonate, the same compound as natural limestone. It does not sit on top of the surface, it becomes the surface. This is why it breathes. This is why moisture passes through it rather than accumulating beneath it. This is why the condensation and mold argument was always chemically false. The Department of Energy has confirmed that 93% of heat entering through a residential roof arrives as radiant energy, not warm air seeping through cracks, not conduction through wooden beams. Infrared radiation, absorbed by a dark surface and re-emitted downward into the attic. Standard fiberglass insulation, the pink rolls manufactured by Owens Corning, Johns Manville, and Certainteed, addresses conduction and convection. It addresses 7% of the problem. It was sold as the complete answer. A white lime surface operates on a different mechanism entirely. It does not slow heat, it redirects it, upward, into the sky. NASA identified this mechanism known as radiative sky cooling during spacecraft thermal research. Even on the hottest afternoon of the year, the sky above a roof functions as a heat sink for long-wave infrared radiation at an effective temperature between -50 and -70 degrees Fahrenheit. A conventional air conditioner dumps heat into outdoor air sitting at 95 degrees. A lime-washed roof radiates heat into a thermal void approaching the temperature of deep space. In 2021, Professor Sheilin Ruin at Purdue University developed a coating reflecting 98.1% of incoming solar radiation, certified by the Guinness World Records as the most reflective surface ever manufactured. Applied across 1,000 square feet of roof, it generates 10 kilowatts of continuous passive cooling. A standard residential central air conditioning system operates at 3 to 5 kilowatts. The coating outperforms the machine by a factor of 2 to 3 without drawing a single watt from the electrical grid. The underlying principle is identical to what the woman on Thera understood 3,000 years ago. Physics did not change, the manual did. One house, 1,200 square feet of roof. One 50-pound bag of Type S hydrated lime from any hardware or masonry supply store. Cost $7 to $14. Mix 1 part lime to 2 parts water. The consistency of thin milk. Apply with a thick-napped roller or wide masonry brush. 2 coats. Allow a full day of drying between them. Total material costs $14 to $28. A homeowner in Texas documented the results on a building forum. Before treatment, his attic registered 143 degrees Fahrenheit on a digital thermometer. After 2 dried coats, it registered 97 degrees, a 46-degree reduction. His estimated electricity savings that summer, $1,200. His total cost, $14. Add the interior layer. Perforated radiant barrier foil, sold at most home improvement stores under the search terms attic foil or low E foil, stapled to the underside of the rafters with the reflective side facing down. Keep an air gap between the foil and any surface. Overlap every seam by 2 inches. One person completes an average attic in 3 to 4 hours. A 500 square foot roll costs $30 to $60. A homeowner in Phoenix installed the foil and watched his attic temperature fall from 138 degrees to 104. His air conditioner dropped from 4.5 hours of daily runtime to 1.8. His July electricity bill fell $187 compared to the previous year. Total material cost, $54. Both treatments combined, $70 to $90. 1 weekend, 0 electricity consumed. Reapplication of the lime wash every 2 to 3 years at the same cost. Over 10 years, the alternative is $25,000 to $30,000 in air conditioning installation and operating costs for a machine fighting heat that never had to enter. A mineral compound. Continuous documented use since 1500 BCE, confirmed effective by the Department of Energy, validated by Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory, documented by NASA, published in peer-reviewed research, capable of outperforming a $12,000 air conditioning system at a material cost of $14. A study calculated in 2024 that it could have kept 240 people alive during a single heat wave. It cannot be patented. It cannot be trademarked. There is no subscription, no service contract, no reoccurring installation fee. We know what happened to it. We know when it left the construction manuals. We know which associations lobbied against the ordinances that would have brought it back. We know what talking point was manufactured to replace the science, and we know that Target's own stores disproved it. The question the documented record leaves open is not what happened. The question is what to call a system that removes a verified life-saving technology from the training manuals of an entire profession, funds research to manufacture doubt about it, writes neighborhood rules to ban it, and lobbies state legislatures to keep those bans in place while collecting $130 billion a year from the population it kept uninformed. The record does not answer that question. It only assembles the evidence. The viewer can supply the word. The knowledge did not disappear. On the Cycladic islands of Greece, Santorini, Mykonos, Paros, annual lime wash application remains a living community practice, not a tourism aesthetic, a functional thermal tradition maintained continuously from the Minoan period to the present day. The whitewashed walls that draw photographs from visitors are the same walls that keep interiors cool in an Aegean summer without mechanical assistance. The communities that maintain them are not preserving a relic. They are practicing an engineering decision their ancestors arrived at 3,000 years ago and never had reason to abandon. In the United States, the Cool Roof Rating Council, a nonprofit organization based in Oakland, California, actively certifies and documents the thermal performance of reflective roofing materials, maintains a publicly searchable rated products directory, and produces technical resources for builders and homeowners who want verified performance data rather than industry talking points. In the American Southwest and across the United Kingdom, the natural building and vernacular architecture movement has spent 3 decades recovering and teaching lime wash application, passive cooling design, and thermal mass construction. Organizations including the Cobb Research Institute and the Endeavor Center document these methods and make them available. Practitioners trained in these traditions are working today. The woman on Thera was not the last to carry this. She was the first in a line that has never actually broken, only been made harder to find. Type S hydrated lime is available at any hardware store or masonry supply outlet in the country. It is sold in 50-pound bags. It is not a specialty product. It does not require a contractor or a permit to apply to a roof surface. Search Type S hydrated lime, perforated radiant barrier foil, attic foil, low E foil. For the broader system, passive cooling design, passive mass building, vernacular architecture adapted to your climate, the Cool Roof Rating Council's website is a documented starting point. The Natural Building Network operating in your region carries practitioners who teach these methods directly. In thousands of American neighborhoods, there is still a written rule banning the white surface. Now you know what the rule was written to protect, and it was not your house. I hope you enjoyed that discovery. What was covered here today is one thread. This channel exists to pull them, documented, sourced, specific, across food, farming, building, and natural remedies from the communities that never stopped practicing what the manuals stopped teaching. If that matters to you, subscribe to this channel. Ensure you share this video with one person whose roof is dark. Tell me your findings in the comment. I would reply to you the second I see your comment. Every view is a record that someone looked. Every share is a document that the knowledge moved. Keep sharing this video. That is what preservation looks like now.